Good afternoon and welcome. I am Amrit Yagnanarayan from HRSA's Office of Information Technology. I'm sure you're all aware of the upcoming multi-factor authentication process to log into EHBs. In a few minutes, my colleague Jennifer will demonstrate to you in detail about what you need to do to set yourself up before the changes go into effect on May 26th. Before I hand it over to her, a few points to note. During this entire session, all of you will be muted. Thus, please ask your questions in the Q&A section. You'll see that at the bottom of your screen. We will answer as best as we can during this session. However, after the session, we will review all of them and respond next week. In addition, a recording of this session will be made available in the next few days. With this, I now hand it over to Jennifer. Jennifer?
Thank you, Amrit, and welcome everyone. As Amrit said, we're excited to have this session today to help explain the new process for logging into the EHBs using Login.gov and multi-factor authentication. My name is Jenny Lambert, so I'll be walking you through the information today about the changes to the process to make sure that everyone is ready to go for May 26th when this goes into effect. Again, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A box, which I see people are already using, so that's great. We'll be monitoring that and answering in the chat during the session, and then answering any at the end that we can. We'll also share the slides as an attachment in the chat box, so keep an eye out for that. We'll attach those so you can download as needed. Okay, so with that, we will go ahead and get started. Okay, for our agenda today, we're going to start off with some background on this new process and an overview of the change that's coming. Then we'll have a live demo on how to create your Login.gov account. Next, we'll go ahead and look at some common messages you might receive related to the EHBs and Login.gov. And then we'll have a sneak peek at the new EHBs landing page and the login page. And last, we'll share some links to some helpful resources, as well as answer questions that you have. Okay, again, as you all probably know, and have hopefully seen our communications, the EHBs are being updated to enhance security. And so with that, applicants, grantees, service providers, consultants, and technical analysts will begin using Login.gov and two-factor authentication to access your EHBs accounts starting on May 26th. That's an important date, and you're going to hear me talk about it a lot in the next hour, because that's the date that everything is going to be changing. So to be ready for this change, you must create a Login.gov account, or if you already have an existing Login.gov account, you can use that as well. Just be sure that the email accounts between Login.gov and the EHBs are match. So that's really important that those email addresses are the same used for Login.gov and the EHBs. And of course, your Login.gov account must be active. Once this new process goes live in May, on May 26th, you will see a new login page in the EHBs, and will be prompted to use Login.gov and two-factor authentication process that we're going to talk about. You may also be hearing and seeing some new names that you aren't quite familiar with. So I just want to take a second to talk about what XMS and Login.gov actually are, so you're comfortable with those. The first thing is XMS, which is the External User Management System, is an access management solution for a set of credential service providers, or CSPs, such as Login.gov. So please note that you will see XMS on some of the login pages, and you will need to sign an annual agreement with XMS, which you'll be prompted to do after you complete, or as you're completing the two-factor authentication process to log into the EHBs. Next, we have Login.gov. And so HRSA's EHBs has chosen Login.gov as their credential service provider, or that CSP, that's managed by XMS. So Login.gov manages the primary authentication credentials and two-factor authentication process. And that's why you'll need to create an account with Login.gov, because they're managing that two-factor authentication process moving forward to access the EHBs. So I know that was a lot of information, but basically, while you'll see both of these names on some of the pages as you're logging into the system, into the EHBs, you only need to create an account with Login.gov. Everything with XMS is kind of taken care of automatically as you create that Login.gov account and are logging into the EHBs. So we just want to make you aware that you will see both of those names, XMS and Login.gov, but you just need to create a Login.gov account by May 26th. All right, so now that you kind of understand what Login.gov is and what needs to happen before May 26th. So we have a couple different scenarios here that you may run into, and we want to make sure you're comfortable getting up to that date. So if you already have an EHBs account and you already have a Login.gov account, if they both have the same email address, then there's no action needed and you're all ready to go for May 26th to be able to log into the EHBs. So if that's your situation, you're good to go. If you have that EHBs account and the Login.gov account and they have different email addresses, then you actually have two different options. So one option is that you can create a new Login.gov account and use the same email address as what's used in the EHBs. So that's one option. Your other option, if you have the EHBs and Login.gov accounts with different email addresses, is that you can add the EHBs email address as a secondary email address in your Login.gov account. So if you do this, just make sure that when you're logging into the EHBs and you go in to put your username and password for Login.gov, that you use the correct email address, because you'll have two email addresses in that Login.gov account. So in short, you have two options. You can create a new Login.gov account, or you can just add your email for the EHBs account as a secondary email in Login.gov. And you can do that through the My Account page in Login.gov. And if you need any help with that, the EHB or the Login.gov customer support team, help team, they can assist you with that as well. And we'll provide their contact information at the end of the session. So another situation you might run into is if you already have an EHBs account, but you don't have a Login.gov account yet. And that's what we'll spend some time talking about in just a minute. But in that case, you will need to create a new Login.gov account before you need to go to log into the EHBs on May 26th. So again, all of these things related to Login.gov go into effect starting May 26th, but we encourage you to go ahead and set up that Login.gov account as soon as possible so that you are ready to go on the 26th. If you are creating a new Login.gov account, just make sure that you use the same email address as used in the EHBs. Okay, so again, that's kind of the most important thing to take away from this information so far, is just make sure you have that Login.gov account with the email address matching the EHBs by the 26th. If you don't have a Login.gov account by that date, you will still be able to create one, and I'll show you how to do that a little bit later in the presentation. All right, so now we're going to get kind of into our demo section. I'm going to show just a couple screenshots first of what Login.gov looks like, and then we'll get into the live demo. So we have a screenshot of the Login.gov homepage. When you first go there, this is what you'll see. It has a lot of helpful information and background on Login.gov. So you can see what is Login.gov, a lot of information about how it's used. As I mentioned, they have a help center. So you'll see on their homepage on sort of the top navigation bar, they have a help link. So if you have questions or want to contact their customer support team, you can click Help Center. If you already have a Login.gov account, you can click up on the top right side of the page, and there's a button that says Sign in with Login.gov, and you can click that if you already have a Login.gov account and want to log in. This can help you if you already have that account and you want to verify it's active, or you want to make sure it has the correct email address. You can use that to check there. When you're ready to create a new account, you'll click on Create an Account on that navigation bar right next to the Help Center. So once you've clicked on Create an Account, it's going to take you to the Create page or Create an Account page, which gives helpful details about email addresses, which again needs to make sure you match that to the email in your EHBs account. Some tips about a secure password, as well as some tips and examples of the authentication methods, which we'll talk about in a bit. So once you've read all of the information and you're ready to create your account, there's a button down at the very bottom of the page that says Create an Account, and you'll click on that Create an Account button, and then you'll come to the Create page. So this page allows you to enter your email address, which, as we all know by now, needs to match the EHBs account. And then you'll complete a few additional fields and then click Submit. So I'm going to pause here and I'm going to pull up my other screen, and we're going to go ahead and walk through what this process actually looks like in a test system. So again, I'm on the Login.gov homepage, and you can see, just like the screenshot we looked at, it has information about Login.gov, and we have our Create an Account button on the top navigation bar. So once I click Create an Account, that takes us to the Create an Account page with all of our helpful tips about email addresses, passwords, and then we have the authentication methods. So from here, I'm actually going to switch to my test account, but what you'll do is click Create an Account down at the bottom of the page. I'm just going to open up a new window so I can do this in my test system. So this is the page that you'll go to once you're ready to start and create your Login.gov account, if you're creating a new account. So you'll see it's branded with Login.gov's information, and it's going to ask you to enter your email address. So again, make sure you enter your email address that matches with the EHBs. So I'm going to go ahead and create a test account here. So once I've entered my email address, then I'm going to be able to select the language that I prefer. And then there's a rules of use, which you'll want to open and take a look at, read through that. And then there's a checkbox right next to the rules of use that you'll need to check, accepting the rules of use. And then we'll click Submit down at the bottom of the page. Okay. So once I click Submit, you're going to see you have a message that tells you to check your email. It's going to send it to my email address, my test email that I just set up. And once I get that email, let me see, it's going to ask me to pull this over. It's going to give you a confirm message. So you're going to receive an email from Login.gov to go ahead and confirm that email address. So I'm going to click that confirm email address button and give it just a second. Okay. All right. So now you are prompted to create a password. So I'm going to go ahead and stop talking while I type. Okay. So you'll create a password. Again, it must be 12 characters long and be obviously a secure password since you're logging into the system here. So you'll enter the password and confirm. And then we're going to click continue here. Okay. So now, once you put your password in, then it's going to prompt you to select an authentication method. And it gives you a little bit of information about what each of these methods are. So we have security key, you have a government employee ID, you have an authentication app, text or voicemail, or you can get a list of backup codes. So you can select any of these that work best for you based on your situation. And so I'm going to go ahead and just select text or voicemail. Once you've selected the method you want to use, you'll click continue down at the bottom of the page. And you'll put in your phone number and then get the code. So I'm going to move this over to my other page to put the information in. Give me just 1 second. Okay. All right, so I put my phone number in and let's see. Okay, sorry about that. 1 second. Let me get my code. So then it will text me a code because that's the selection I made. If you picked a different option, it will give you a different method to get your code, and then you'll enter your code in. So give me just 1 second to type that. Typing. Sorry, give me just 1 second. Having some technical issues. I apologize. This is a test system, so bear with me 1 minute. Okay. So now that you have the code in, I received that security code or authentication code, and it sent that through. And once I put that in to verify everything, it went ahead and gave me the option to add another method. So if you want to add a backup authentication method, in case you need to use that, you can set up a backup method. For time purposes, I'm going to skip that for now. So once you click skip, it should take us right into your login.gov account. So it'll take you right to your account page where you can see all of the information that you've added. If you need to add, like we mentioned, additional information, you can do so here, or update anything. And so that is the process to create your login.gov account. And again, between now and May 25th, we really encourage you to go ahead, if you have not already, and create that login.gov account. Okay, so with that, I'm going to hop back over to our slides, and we'll look in just a minute at what it looks like to actually log into the EHBs. But for now, I just want to go back and go over a few more pieces of information. So we have a couple common messages that you may see as you're going through the login process with XMS, setting up your, with login.gov as you're setting up your accounts, or as you're logging into the EHBs. There's a lot more messages, of course, you may see pop up, and we have those documented in our wiki FAQ page, which I'll share the links for at the end. But we just wanted to talk about a few common ones that you may see. So the first one is that you may see an XMS error that says that an account already exists for your email address. See this? That means that you already have an XMS account with another provider with that same email address. What you'll need to do is follow the prompts that will pop up on the screen if you get that message, and it's going to walk you through linking your login.gov profile to your XMS profile. Another message you may see is that your EHB's account has been disabled. So the accounts within the EHBs are disabled if you don't log in for 18 months. So if it's been more than 18 months and you haven't been into the EHBs, what you'll need to do is create a help desk ticket and with the EHB's help desk, and they'll be able to reactivate your account. We do encourage you to log in periodically to your EHB's account just to make sure that it doesn't get disabled. But if it is, you can get it reactivated with the help from the EHB's help desk. All right, and then another message you may see, this is specifically for our consultants and technical analysts. So you may see a message that you don't have an EHB's account. And if that happens, all you need to do is reach out to your HRSA point of contact to ensure that your account was created with the same email address. And so they'll be able to take care of that for you and get that addressed. Again, we know other messages may pop up. We do have a lot of those documented in our Wiki FAQ help page. But if you do need additional assistance, of course, the Login.gov help team, as well as the EHB's customer support and help team, are always there to assist you. Okay. So now let's take a look just to kind of recap some of the things that are and are not changing as we hit May 26th. So again, on the 26th, you will start using Login.gov and two-factor authentication when you're accessing the EHBs. And what this means is that you will no longer be prompted to enter your EHB's username and password to log in. All you'll need to do is enter that login.gov email and password that you set up, just like I walked you through a minute ago, and then complete that two-factor authentication method. Okay, so the EHB's registration process for applicants, grantees, and service providers is not something that's changing. So you all will register for the EHBs the exact same way. However, for consultants and technical analysts, we do encourage you to create your login.gov account before requesting an EHB's account is set up for you moving forward. And last, the EHB's landing page, as well as the login pages for each role, are being updated, which you actually just saw a sneak peek of because I had that window open, but I'm going to show you right now. And so again, all of these changes are going into effect May 26th. Between now and basically May 25th, nothing is changing in how you access and log into the EHBs. Okay, so here's a preview of what the new EHB's landing page is going to look like. You'll notice that it has a new updated look and feel. However, the functionality that you're used to is very similar. You'll find your role. So say you're an applicant and grantee, and you'll click on the card for that role. So we have applicants and grantees, we have consultant and expert, we have technical analysts, and we have service provider. So you'll select the card for your role. And once you click on the card, that's going to take you to a new login page. And again, it's got a nice updated look and feel, but the functionality and the information is very similar to what you are used to. This page does look a little bit different based on your role, has information tailored to your role. And so I have this example as an applicant and grantee. So you can see what that looks like, where we have on the top right, in the top left, you have a login.gov card. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. Then next to that, on the top right, you have a what's new card, and that gives helpful information and some important changes or new things coming within the EHBs. On the bottom left, we have the learning card with links to some different tools, as well as the other links, which a really helpful piece down here is that we have a help link, and that takes you directly to the wiki help pages, where we do have several new pages and some updated existing pages for the this login change. And last, over on the bottom right, we have the contact us page, and this gives you the contact information for the EHB's customer support team. So it gives you the information for their phone number and their email in case you need to reach out to them for any help with your EHB's account. Okay, so I'm going to pull back up my slides here and we'll do a little demo on how to log in to the EHBs. And again, just to reiterate, this new process does not go into effect until May 26th. So from now till then, you will continue to see the existing pages and log in with your EHBs username and password. So once we hit May 26th, you will see the this new page. And again, just like from the screenshot, you can see the different cards based on your role. So we have applicants and grantees, we have consultants and experts, technical analysts, and we have service provider. So I'm going to go ahead for this demo and click on applicant and grantee. So once I click on that card, and again, bear with me for just a second because this is a test system, so it may take a moment to load. Ooh, okay, sorry about that. Let's see, it looks like it's just taking a second. There we go. Okay. All right, so again, this is the login page. It does look a little bit different based on the role that you select. But this thing the card that's the same for everyone is going to be the login.gov card on the top left. So here we have the create login.gov account button. So if you do not create a login.gov account before May 26th, you can actually come right here in the EHBs and go ahead and create that login.gov account. So once you click on this button, it's going to take you to that create account page we were looking at just a couple minutes ago, and you can create the account there. If you do already have a login.gov account created, all you'll need to do to access the EHBs is click on this login button just below the create login.gov account option. So I'm going to go ahead, since I just created my login.gov account and I want to access the EHBs now, I'm going to click login. And it's going to take me to the login page. So you'll see, as I mentioned earlier on, you'll see login.gov on the pages. This one also we have, so you know you're on an HHS page. And then we also see that XMS is helping to kind of run this process. So we don't want you to be surprised when you see these different names on here. As we talked about earlier, they are just the ones that manage the authentication process. So now I'm going to go ahead and enter my email address. And then I'm going to enter my password. So this is the email address and password that you set up for login.gov. Okay, and then we're going to click sign in at the bottom of the page. And before I click sign in, actually, one note, if you come here and you realize that you have not set up your login.gov account yet, you can actually click down below the sign in button and create a login.gov account from here. So just another option. There's many different ways to get to the login.gov create page. But since I already have my account for login.gov, I'm going to go ahead and click sign in. Now it's going to pop up the authentication method. So again, I'm going to check the test account that I set here and type in the code. Okay. And then you're going to hit submit. And you'll notice that the first time you log in to the EHBs, as well as annually, you're going to be prompted to sign an agreement with XMS. That's just allowing them to have access to the information that you've entered for your login.gov account. So you will need to click agree and continue. And again, you'll just be prompted to do this the first time you log in, as well as once a year annually. All right, so I'm going to click agree and continue. And then that should pop us up into the EHBs because I already have a test account set up with the EHBs. So this should take us right there. Again, it's a test system, so it's moving a little bit slow, but for you, it'll be a lot quicker once you go to log into the EHBs it will, apologize, test system taking a little bit, but it should lock. There we go. It'll take you right into the EHBs. If you already have an account. If you do not have an EHBs account, or it's been a little while since you validated it, it may take you to a registration page. That will kind of depend on your account status within the EHBs. So that's how, again, on or after May 26th, how you'll start logging into the EHBs, following that process to enter your login.gov account information and complete that two-factor authentication process. So also just want to mention some communications that you've probably seen and will continue to see for the next couple of weeks. We've been sending regular email reminders about this process to give you as much information, as well as posting banners within the EHB's login pages. We want to make sure you're prepared with as much information as we can give you. So those emails and banners all have some links to the wiki help pages that I mentioned earlier, and we'll talk about in just a second, that give step-by-step instructions on creating your login.gov account. More information is continuing to be added, including an FAQ. We have a video that's posted, and we'll have other information about actually logging into the EHBs. So keep an eye on those emails and banners for more information as you get closer to the May 26th date when this new process goes live. And as Amrit said earlier, we will also be sharing the link to this webinar recording once it's available, so that you have access to this webinar as well. And again, just one more thing, the most important thing to remember is that you want to make sure you are all set with your login.gov account, matching the EHB's email by May 26th. So I've mentioned the different resources we have available. So we have several helpful links listed on our resources page here in the slides. And we have a link that takes you directly to login.gov. So if you want to go ahead, if you have not already set up your login.gov account, you can access that straight from login.gov. We also have a link here to the login.gov help center. Showed you how you can get there from the login.gov homepage, but we also have the link directly to their help center. We have, again, several wiki pages in the EHBs. So these are EHBs help pages. We have a page that's kind of a process overview for the new login process that you'll start following on May 26th. And within that, it links you to several other pages. So we have a help page on login.gov that goes step by step through how to create a new login.gov account. We also, again, as I mentioned, have some FAQs that talk about different questions about login.gov or XMS or the EHB's login process, different scenarios and messages that may come up. So that FAQ we think will be really helpful, and that's also on one of our wiki pages. And last, we also have a video that actually is just going live that we made to walk step by step through this process. A lot of what I showed today with creating a login.gov account and logging into the EHBs. So you can access all of these through the wiki pages. And again, the recording of the webinar today will be available soon. We'll send out a message and include that link. And we'll also have additional information available to you as we get closer to May 26th, when all of this goes live, and we'll continue to send out reminders so that you don't have any surprises on May 26th when you go to log in to the EHBs. So with that, that is everything we wanted to talk about for the session so far. And so we're just gonna take a quick pause and look at questions to see what we can help answer. Again, I'm just going to leave up the help resources here so you can have those accessible if you need. So just give us a second to have some questions, get our questions together. Sorry, bear with us for just a second as we take a look at what's already been covered in the questions. Okay, and I have a couple team members here. We have Sawyer and Nima, and of course we have Amrit. So we're gonna kind of tag team these questions, and I think Sawyer has a couple that he's gonna ask for us.
Yeah, hi everybody. So first of all, apologies that the PowerPoint cannot be downloaded from the chat. I've tried to answer as many times as I can through the Q&A, but that will be made available to you with the recording once this is complete. And we apologize for that inconvenience. So there were a number of questions that were asked around this topic. So I will try to paraphrase as best as I can. That way it can all be answered. But will the connected accounts show up on the list after May 26th, or will it happen anytime prior? Because right now the EHB is not showing up as a connected account within the Login.gov account.
Thank you, Sawyer. That's a great question. So that will not show in Login.gov until May 26th when all of the integration is complete. So kind of right now, as you're setting up that Login.gov account, it's just kind of preparing everything. And then once you go on the 26th and go through the EHBs, that landing page we showed to log in, then everything will kind of be synced up.
Beautiful. And there were quite a few questions asked about the frequency of needing to change the password. Is that going to happen as frequent or less than, greater than, or equal to with the new HBs?
Hi, Jenny. This is Anima. Hello, everyone. I can answer that question. Login.gov currently does not have the password change policy. So once you set up the password, you can change if you would like to, but Login.gov as such will not prompt you to change the password within that lifetime. But having said that, you can change the password whenever you want to using the change password feature within Login.gov.
Great, thank you.
The next question that I saw pretty frequently, are there any restrictions with regard to which browser can be utilized? For example, can Login.gov be used with Google Chrome?
Answer to the question is yes. Any browser that you have been using to access EHBs will work just the same for Login.gov as well. So that includes Edge, that includes Chrome, and any browser will work just fine. EHB's browser requirements are available on the EHB's home login page itself, and it will remain the same. Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
The next topic that came up quite frequently was the login for the EHB. Is the login the same URL as login.gov for the EHB, or will it be different?
So I can take that one, Anima, if you want. So you can use the same URL. The URL is actually changing, but it will redirect you. So if you have it bookmarked, you can use the same URL. It'll take you to the new EHB's landing page there that we showed with the cards to select. So you can continue using the same one. It's just going to redirect you to the new page.
Perfect. Thank you.
I would like to add to that answer. You will not be able to access EHBs by directly going to login.gov. Please note that you have to use grants.HRSA.gov URL itself to access EHBs.
The next question that came up frequently, or topic, is the two-factor authentication. Will that be utilized every time that you go to log in?
Yes. So when you go to log in, it will prompt you to complete that two-factor authentication. The only thing that'll be different is that agreement with XMS that we took a look at. That one, that page you will only see, again, when you, for the very first time you log in, as well as annually to re-sign that agreement with them.
And really, those were the topics that came up quite frequently. We have had a lot of questions, which we will get to when we go through, but those are the topics that came up most frequently.
Okay, so if you do have other questions, go ahead and put them in the chat box. Or the Q&A box, I apologize, the Q&A box. And we'll take a look and see if there's any more we can answer right now. Again, just to reiterate, I see a couple questions just skimming through. Again, kind of like Sawyer asked at the beginning of not seeing access within the EHBs to login.gov or not seeing those accounts tied yet. So again, we're doing this session and kind of giving you the heads up, but this new process with two-factor authentication and login.gov and the new EHBs pages we showed, that does not go into effect until May 26th. So right now, you'll see all of the normal processes and the normal pages for the EHBs, and you'll still use your EHBs username and password to log in until May 26th. So we're just encouraging you to make sure you have a login.gov account before then, so that it's an easy transition on the 26th or after when you go to log in. And again, a couple of questions on if you already have that login.gov account, but the email address is different. You can use, if you want to use that same login.gov account, you can go to the My Account page in login.gov and you can add the EHB's email address as your secondary email address there. Just make sure if you do that when you go to log in to the EHBs and you put in the correct email in login.gov. Or again, if you want, and if it's easier to keep track, you can just create a new login.gov account under the EHB's email address. So you have two different options there.
And will the PIV card still need to be utilized for login?
Nima, I'm gonna let you answer that question.
Yes, no, what for EHBs, what we are using is the login.gov accounts. So when you are prompted to enter the login.gov account, you can use the username as the email address for login.gov and the password associated with that account. So for login purpose as such, for external user communities that we have mentioned here, for applicant, grantee, the service provider, and consultants and technical analysts, these groups should use their login.gov credentials and not the PIV card.
Okay, great. I saw another question. I know we've talked about this a little bit, but will the login.gov authentication process, will that put you straight into the EHBs? And yes, after May 26th or on or and after May 26th, once you complete that two-factor authentication process with login.gov, it will put you right into the EHBs, assuming you have an EHBs account. If you don't have an account yet, then it would prompt you to complete the registration process. And this is just for our external users. I see a question about who this applies to. So this applies to grantees, applicants, service providers, technical assistants, and consultants. So this does not apply to internal HRSA staff.
A few questions. If you get any email or anything that is regarding your current account, if your password is set to expire in a few days, please go ahead and ensure that you renew that. Do not allow it to expire. It's important to ensure that you can continue to work until the 26th. And once the 26th happens, So there have been some questions. What, for example, if I begin some FTCA application, will that transfer over? There's nothing to transfer over. It's only that your login process will change. The rest will remain as is. So whatever you were able to access earlier, you will continue to access. If your application was half completed, then that you can log in after 26th and continue the application.
Okay, great. I see a question that someone asked about if they already have a login.gov account for another agency, will that connect them? So you will need to make sure that the login.gov account, again, uses the same email address as you have for the EHBs, and then you'll be able to use that login.gov account for the EHBs. So you can use an existing login.gov account. It's just got to make sure it has the same email address.
Again, quite a few questions. Can EHBs accessed from login.gov account? No, you will have to access EHBs as you currently do. It's only that you will be authenticated using login.gov. The login procedure has changed. That's the only thing. And this applies to those 4 handbooks: applicant, grantee, consultant expert, technical analyst, and service provider.
Thank you, Amrit. And I pulled up the page again. Again, this is just the preview of what that EHB's landing page, when you go to grants.HRSA.gov, this is what that page will look like with the updated look and feel. And once you click on your roll card, it's going to take you to the login page, and that's when you'll complete the login process. And that will allow you to get into the EHBs. I see a couple questions about not being sure if someone has a login.gov account. So if you aren't sure, you can go right now to the login.gov homepage, and there's a button up on the top right side of the page that you can sign in to login.gov. So you can go there and you can try and sign in and see if you have an account. If you don't have an account, you'll just be prompted to create a login.gov account. So that's a good way to be able to check and see if your account is still active that you created with them, and can verify the email address. See some other questions about the password. So again, you will not, after May 26th, you will not need to use an EHB's password. You will just use a password for login.gov. So it'll just be the email and password you use in login.gov. You will not need to have a separate password for the EHBs, because again, as you go through that 2-factor authentication process, it will take you from the login.gov login pages to the EHBs. But again, as Amrit just mentioned, you will still need to start out from either the EHB's landing page or the login page to get in. Again, you cannot go access the EHBs directly from that sign-in page in login.gov. We're just kind of working our way down through the questions. If Amrit or Nima or Sawyer want to chime in with anything else, I'm just kind of reading through as we go here. Another question is login.gov different than grants.gov? Yes, those are different systems. So as we talked about at the beginning, login.gov is the group, the credential service provider that is managing the authentication for the EHBs. So that is a completely separate entity than grants.gov. And we have a question about SAM.gov. I'm going to put this one out to Anima or Amrit, and someone asked if SAM.gov uses the login.gov application. I'm not sure.
So just to clarify, there are many federal government websites that do use login.gov. And I do believe that SAM.gov and grants.gov use login.gov. They may have others as well, but they do use login.gov too. The key here is that what EHBs requires is that whatever EHB's login ID you have is an ID that you need to use to log in from login.gov. That's the only thing that we expect you to do for logging into EHBs.
And we have another question that came in kind of early on that kind of just summarizing that we'll use use login.gov to kind of get into the EHBs and find any information about your grants. And yes, that's correct. So once you go to the login page for the EHBs, you'll complete that login.gov process, and then your EHBs account, EHBs homepage, and all of that will look the same. You can nothing there is changing in terms of what you can see for your grants and access all of that. So that's all just changing. The only new change coming May 26th is how you actually log in to the EHBs to help with that security.
Someone posted a comment rather than a question that they were able to download the PowerPoint posted in the chat. So if somebody, I presume it's up now and people can download, well and good.
Okay, great. You know, sometimes if they're the slides are attached before someone joins, they might have a little bit of a tricky time accessing. So hopefully everybody's able to access them now. Okay, well, we have just a couple minutes left. If Anima, Sawyer, Amrit, there's any other questions we want to answer live? I know there's some that we might need to look into a little bit. And again, we'll follow up on anything we didn't answer live. Again, post the webinar recording once this is available.
Thank you again for everyone for attending this call. It's been a pleasure for us to present this to you. Once again, please do look out for emails, and we will be sending out to you these links along with the link to this webinar that we've just had. So if you want to view it or share it with your colleagues, we encourage you to do so, because all of them need to be informed as well. With that, I think if there are no more questions, we can end the call.
All right, great. Thank you, everyone.